sports world, and welcome to The First Line, a show where we discuss all things sports, both professional and collegiate. My name is Massimo Marciano, and here today I'm with my good friends Michael Zangroni and Taylor Snyder. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
Great to be here. Super Bowl show, a couple of days till Super Bowl, big game, ready to watch this. A lot of things to break down. Let's get to it.
It's hard to stay focused. Got a really big game on Sunday, but right now it's all football today, baby. We got a full football show for you. I'm super excited. Let's get this going.
It's going to be beautiful. Super Bowl Sunday. Sunday. We got the 14-2 New England Patriots going up against the 11-5 Atlanta Falcons. Let's start off with the Patriots. 14-2, started off the first 4 games without Tom Brady, arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. Goes 3-1 with the combination of Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett, who both surprisingly, well, Jimmy Garoppolo not really, but Jacoby Brissett held his own for those games. And I think we got to say, honestly, this is a Patriots team that has not only depth, but great coaching, great skill, and just an overall great mindset. And being a team from New England is a lot of morale. Taylor, I want to know, what do you think about this Patriots team? Because, you're a Patriots fan. I want to know what you think about, everything that's going on right now.
I think, honestly, and I say this with great confidence, this is the best team since the 07 undefeated team. Just it's remarkable what they've done this season. I was talking to Mike before the show. The 07 team that year that the Patriots were, quote-unquote, unstoppable, a lot of people don't know about the Patriots. They had the worst defense in the NFL that year, or one of the worst, This year, they were ranked in the top 5 and best defenses in the NFL. They had Tom Brady, arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks, if not the greatest quarterback of all time, out for the first 4 games. There was a load on a young Jimmy Garoppolo and inexperienced Jacoby Brissett. The Patriots started out the season 3-1. They lost a game to the Bills in a tough game. Jacoby Brissett had to play that game on the road. And, honestly, you look at this team and you see 14-2 and you think, all right, 2 losses. One was without the starting quarterback, Tom Brady. The second was against a very red-hot Seattle Seahawks team at the time. So I don't want to go as far as to say they're unstoppable, but this team's going to be pretty tough to beat on Sunday. You got to give credit, where it's due to Tom Brady. You got to give credit where it's due to Matt Patricia, the whole coaching staff, Josh McDaniels, Belichick, Brady. The defenses, you can't say enough about them. Dion Lewis coming back has been huge. Just overall this season, it's almost like it's one of the seasons where the Patriots aren't walking away with that 5th Super Bowl title, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're damn near close to unbeatable because they're really good. The one thing that really pops out to me, I know Tom Brady's going to do good. He obviously did, but LeGarrette Blount, he needs to get some, some recognition. This man had 1,000 rush yards, 18 touchdowns. That's a lot of touchdowns. That's, that was Zeke, David Johnson numbers, but we're only talking about them two, not the LeGarrette Blount. That's the great thing. Yeah, Tom Brady's going to be able to throw it no matter if you can't run or not, but it's great that you can run the ball, especially LeGarrette Blount. He can shove it down your throat, he'll run you over, hit you in the face mask repeatedly, and he'll score that, goal line touchdown they need. He gets a lot of yards, got a lot of touchdowns, and Julian Edelman with a 1,000-yard receiving year. Yeah, he only had 3 touchdowns, but he's getting yards for Tom Brady, and their offense is playing at a very high level right now. They just put up a lot of points against the Steelers, and that defense is insane, number 1 in the league. They trade even with trading away Jamie Collins, they still played really good, got the number 1 defense in the league, and they're just on fire right now, and they're damn near unbeatable.
Yeah, and like you were saying, adding on to your thing about the run game, a guy that you kind of forget about, especially if you're a Patriots fan, Dion Lewis. There's, it goes without saying that Dion Lewis hasn't been the healthiest player the past 2 years, but he's one of those guys, man, when he's around, he's around. He can be out for a year, and then he can come back, and he can have the game of his career. He can just go off, score 3 touchdowns. I look for him to be a huge factor in this game. I love him on the screens versus that Atlanta defense. I love him on those draws up the middle. And honestly, a name that's been quite silent, if not just, unheard the entire season, James White in the backfield. James White had to step in last year for New England. When Dion Lewis went down, it was him and Blount. And they were running it. Blount was the power back. White was the power receiver, you know what I mean? But this season, it's just been a very lack of James White. And you would think that, he would have at least have gotten involved, with Dion Lewis being out for a good majority of the season. But he's been kind of quiet all year. And it'll be interesting to see if he'll even get touches in this game. But I do recall last year in the playoffs versus a very shaky game versus the Denver Broncos. James White did step up in that game. He's proven himself that he's not quite an elite player, but he comes in clutch. And heck, he's playing for the New England Patriots. Anyone who plays for Bill Belichick is automatically going to have an opportunity no matter what. It's all about taking the opportunity and seizing it. Like you said, Mike, if the run game gets involved and Tom Brady plays like Tom Brady, this is going to be a very tough day for the Atlanta Falcons.
And Taylor, I think you make a very good point, especially concerning Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and that run game too. But, the crazy thing about this Patriots team is that kind of like the Polar Express. I would call it like, like the Billa Brady Express, where we have just this amazing. It doesn't matter who you are really, as long as you're with these two people and the system they got. Well, that's not true. The entire coaching staff for the Patriots has been pretty solid. But with that foundation of Belichick and Brady, you can pretty much just have like any player put into a situation, and then like even if they're a superstar, the Patriots don't really care, because next man up, that phrase, just the depth, it just works for them. We saw it with Jamie Collins, who just went away in the middle of the season to the Browns. And, like, you see players like Chris Hogan and Danny Amendola staying there because, you know why? They're not superstars, but they're receivers that can catch the ball when Tom Brady throws it. And that's what I'm talking about, receivers here, is Chris Hogan, especially against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 9 for 180 and 2 touchdowns. This guy, a few weeks ago, no one was really even talking about him. I know he was playing for the Bills. I'd seen him every now and then, but I never really focused on it. And then also, we also saw Malcolm Mitchell earlier this season. He had some games. He slowed down just a little bit, but you never know when a Patriots player can just become the X factor like that in a game, and it's very interesting to see who could just pop up out of nowhere this game.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's funny you bring up Malcolm Mitchell. I want to talk about him. I thought he was a total steal in the draft this year. I watched him play at Georgia, and as much as I dislike Georgia, I just got to give credit where it's due, man. I mean, Malcolm Mitchell was a beast at Georgia. And he just got completely stolen. And I kind of sat there, and it was just kind of this moment of shock. I was like, did we really just get him? And he's been awesome this year. He's slowed down a little bit. I won't lie, his past 6 games haven't been his best. So it's going to be interesting. Will he continue that trend and make it 7 in a row of just a poor game? Or will Malcolm Mitchell find the Malcolm Mitchell that was there the first 5 weeks in New England? And then one more player that everyone seems to kind of leave out, but it's kind of been the X factor in this entire playoffs. I mean, even his dance moves have proven himself. Martellus Bennett at the tight end position. I mean, like you said, Mike, Rob Gronkowski is most likely, if not, unlikely to play this game on Sunday, correct?
Yeah.
100%.
Really unlikely, yeah.
So, we look at this game, and honestly, you look at the past Super Bowls, you look at New England, these past, 2 Super Bowls, the one versus the Giants, even the one versus the Seahawks, Rob Gronkowski was not healthy at all in those games. Granted, he played in those games, but he was not healthy at all. Here we are again. We got a Super Bowl on Sunday. The Patriots are going for their 5th title. Tom Brady's going for his 5th title, most in NFL history. And Rob Gronkowski is once again unhealthy. And that's the whole thing right now. It's like this team was built off 5 years ago, the Aaron Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski tight end duo, the double tight end set. And now you have a guy like Martellus Bennett. He's been in the league for a while. He was in Chicago. He had some great years in Chicago. And now he has this amazing opportunity in New England. And he's just stepped up. He's proven himself this season. Honestly, I look for him to score 2 touchdowns, if not the winning touchdown in this game. I really like him. I think Tom Brady's going to look for him late in games. Very quick plays. He's a big receiver. He can run fast. He can block. I look for him to be the X factor. And like you said, Malcolm Mitchell, Chris Hogan, Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, I mean, they're going to be making noise all game. I can't wait to see what they do in the Super Bowl.
Hey, Martellus Bennett's a huge name for me because I just like his mixture of hands, physicality, speed, and he can just do it all. And not do it all like Rob Gronkowski, but he's close to it. And he's really solid in the Falcons defense. They have some trouble with their linebackers covering tight ends and stuff. So Martellus Bennett can get free for some big gains and maybe a touchdown or two and really help out Tom Brady with those underneath routes with them tight ends. And obviously you have those receivers that they just have great route combinations, great offensive play call. I mean, their offensive coordinator is great, and that's why he was considered for head coaching jobs. But they just know how to run an offense, and it's really any piece. I'm just looking at their stats. I see the first 6 names, first 7 names, 8 names even, and I'm just looking. Any of these people can beat you. And granted, they just got Michael Floyd a couple weeks back when Arizona let him go. So who knows? Maybe he can make a presence come up because the Patriots are notorious for that, getting someone they come out of nowhere and they just come and ball out. So Michael Floyd is definitely a candidate for that.
I completely forgot about Michael Floyd too. And that he was.
He's a talent too. He's a first-round talent in Notre Dame.
Yeah,
Notre Dame can produce some wide receivers, and he is a talent.
You got to remember last season, or was it, 2 seasons ago? Remember when the Arizona Cardinals were playing the Green Bay Packers?
Oh yeah, he had a great second half of that year.
Was Carson Palmer? I want to say that's the peak of his career, but it was quite possibly the greatest game of his career. But there is one thing people forgot about that game: Michael Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Floyd had a fantastic game that day. Had a fantastic season, as a matter of fact. And that's just like the reality of the NFL, honestly. Like he had that fantastic season, and then he kind of has like an off year. Arizona dumps him. We all know what happened with Arizona this year. It's a little disappointing to be.
Very disappointing.
Very disappointing season for them. And the Patriots kind of signed him, and no one really made a big deal out of it. And honestly, his stats have shown in New England that there's a reason no one's making a big deal out of this because he has been pretty quiet. But like you were saying, Mass, let's keep in mind, this is Bill Belichick. This is the New England Patriots.
Exactly.
This is the Super Bowl. Anything can happen.
Oh, they know how to perform in a Super Bowl, and you just see in interviews, Bill Belichick's like, yeah, it's a Super Bowl. We're happy to be here. He's down to business. He knows how to get stuff done, and he knows how to work during it. And it's just the whole Patriots culture is just like, you're working, and honestly, if you don't get it done, next man up. We're keeping it going. We're gonna win here. I don't care what your stature is. We're gonna win here, and this is how we're gonna do it. And the Patriots just keep that going.
And with that, Bill Belichick will have to keep in mind this weekend he is going against the 11-5 Atlanta Falcons this weekend and Sunday in Houston. He's going to be going against some big names. He's going to be going against Matty Ice Ryan, Julio Jones, the twin back monsters that are Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. He's also going to have to go against Vic Beasley, who's pretty much established his entire defense. Not to say that Falcons' defense isn't good, but Vic Beasley has definitely been the captain of it. A great year for the Falcons, especially that they definitely overcame some of their weaknesses. Earlier this season, they had a loss to Seattle. It was a very close game, but this year, in the divisional round against them, had no problem just taking it out, learned the team, did a great job. And I know it was the home field advantage, but still, though, it's good to see a team kind of just, like, take over the edge. It's like, hey, we almost lost to you, but now it's like, or we did lose to you, excuse me, but it's like now it's like we have the edge. We have the home field advantage. This is us. We got an MVP caliber quarterback right here. So, Mike, tell me about this Falcons team. What most excites about you for this weekend and what you hope to see for them?
Well, what I really like to see is, like, they play in a lot of close games. They're 11-5. They have 5 losses. All those losses were by one possession, except for the game in Philly where they lost to the Eagles 24-15. But every single game they play is close. They had a 2-point game with the Seahawks. A week later, 3-point game with the Chargers. Yes, they lost. But they're in games. They can score points. Their defense is inconsistent. But when their defense can play good, they're a hard team to beat because you have almost a 5,000-yard quarterback and Matt Ryan and a 1,000-yard rusher and Julio Jones, who in my opinion is the best receiver in the league. So this team can strike fast, and with defensive talent like with Desmond Trufant, Vic Beasley, they can really do some damage. So it's really interesting to see how that defense. I'm more worried about their defense because I know their offense will be able to score. Yes, the Patriots have a good defense, but when you have Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, and Matt Ryan leading your offense, it's very hard to stop them. So I know they can score some points. It's just a matter, can Vic Beasley get that pressure? Because he is a good pass rusher. He was up there in the league in sacks. Can he get pressure on Tom Brady? Because we've seen in the Super Bowl also to the Giants. What did the Giants do to Tom Brady? They got pressure. At the pressure, started hitting him, getting him aggravated, and just kept hitting him. So I want to see if Vic Beasley can do that because I feel like if the Falcons are going to win the Super Bowl, they need a huge game for Vic Beasley. Not a small game, not a mediocre game, a huge game for Vic Beasley because he's an athlete. He needs to go in there and make some pressure in the pocket.
Yeah, he needs an MVP performance.
He needs an MVP performance, and he needs to slow down. He needs to help slow down Tom Brady because that secondary is okay, but it can be beaten. But Vic Beasley needs to get to the quarterback under 4 seconds, or it can be a long day for the Falcons because Tom Brady can just easily pick them apart.
Yeah, I mean, the word that I definitely heard, the key word out of that whole thing, Mike, was inconsistent. That really stood out to me. This team is very inconsistent. And the thing about the Atlanta Falcons is it seems like every year Matt Ryan's always going to be up there in contention for a Super Bowl, but Matt Ryan's never going to actually, get to that stage. And then it's kind of like, it's a little surreal, honestly.
It is
And
surreal.
He's in the Super Bowl. He's playing for a Super Bowl. He's quite possibly, in my opinion, personally, going to win the MVP award.
He should win the MVP.
Should win the MVP award.
He definitely should.
Look, let's look at the Falcons season right now. All right, they're 11-5. They're a good team. They're a very good team. People didn't really catch on till the Falcons till the end of the season, though. We have to keep in mind, like you said, Mike, this team has lost a lot of close games, but besides that, they've lost close games to some pretty poor teams. We can't forget the fact that they lost to a very poor Los Angeles Chargers team in overtime, 33-30. They lost to a Kansas City Chiefs team at home pretty badly. They lost to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team to start out the season. Now, granted, Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a pretty good year.
Yeah, they're a solid team.
But at home in an opening game in the Georgia Dome where
You
the
should
Falcons
win,
are
yeah.
very favored to win those games, they should win those. Now we're in a neutral environment. We're going to Houston this Sunday. We're playing the Patriots. We know all the fancy. We know all the theater. The romance. We could talk about that for days. But right now I want to talk about who's going to step up in this game for the Atlanta Falcons, because I sure as heck know Matt Ryan's been carrying this team for most of the season, as well as Julio Jones. And you can talk about this offense, and you can talk about how well this offense plays, but ultimately what I'm looking at right now is Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. And you can look at me and say, well, that's pretty obvious. Those are your two best players. Why wouldn't you look at them? I'm looking at them because last week or excuse me, 2 weeks ago when the Patriots played the Steelers in the AFC Championship, they practically shut down Antonio Brown, and they won the game. Now, granted, Le'Veon Bell did go down in that game, but we're talking right now about Julio Jones, and like Matt said, the best receiver in the league. I said it. I mean, he is the best receiver in the league. How is Malcolm Butler, Dwan Harmon, Devin McCourty, and that entire secondary going to deal with that? And how are they going to respond to a power back like Devontae Freeman? You know, how are they going to respond to receivers like Jacob Tammy? You know, guys like are going to get involved. It's all about, to me right now, the Falcons have a very good opportunity to walk away with a Super Bowl trophy when this is all said and done. So when I look at this Falcons team right now, I'm staring directly at you, Matty Ice, and I'm staring directly at you, Julio Jones, because you two need to have some pretty good games, or I'm sorry, the Patriots are going to take care of you real good. And let's keep in mind, this is a completely different, new look New England defense. So as much as I'd love to talk about the Patriots, I'm looking right now at the Falcons offense, and that's going to be the big X factor in this game.
And did you know what the Chargers cornerback Casey Hayward said about Julio Taylor?
I think I peeped it. It's been a while, but to reiterate,
he said there pretty much is no covering Julio Jones, but the way that there is that the safest route is to really just get that safety on him and to get that man. And so I think when you make a really good point about Julio Jones is that he's gonna have to step up to beat Malcolm Butler and Devin McCourty. I'm sorry about that. Those two players, and I think those are two fully equipped players that can definitely do the task. But then also, I think the Patriots. Obviously, I don't think they would sleep on this fact, but we also remember that Taylor Gabriel every now and then is going to flash, kind of like a Patriots player flashes every now and then.
Long ball threat.
Every now, yeah.
Super
don't sleep on Taylor
threat.
Gabriel, and then don't forget about Mohamed Sanu in free agency. He's had a weird season, but he's still a pretty reliable receiver.
He's a still capable threat.
You know, if I'm doing a Madden fantasy draft, I'm getting Mohamed Sanu.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to work out. You know what I'm talking about here, Mike?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I want to see what Matt Patricia does against the Falcons offense, because you've seen the Patriots. They do some weird things on defense. They'll give you some weird looks. They'll put 5 people in the box. They'll put 8 people in the box. They'll put 2 guys on one receiver, and they'll do all this stuff. So I want to see what they do against Julio Jones, because yes, it is cliche for Taylor to say, all right, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, you're our 2 best players, you got to do something. It's cliche. But yes, I'm staring right at them and say, okay, you're good and you're even better. You got to step up. Julio Jones, I'm looking for 150-plus yards, because guess what? You're the best receiver in the league. It's a Super Bowl. You just got 180 yards against the Packers. Do something this game. I want to see you win this game. If you want to get your money, if you want to get paid, if you want to feed your children, you're 6'5", a physical threat like this. Go do some damage. And when you have Matt Ryan throwing you the ball, 38 touchdowns, almost 5,000 yards, they've been a connection this year. So I really need to see that connection if the Falcons want to win. Matt Ryan and Julio Jones have to connect on multiple passes, deep passes, touchdowns, and everything. And Devontae Freeman has to chip in a little run game, which they have been doing good lately. I believe their last 6 games, they have scored 30-plus points every single game. So their offense is clicking. So really, if their offense doesn't click this game, I think it'll be more of them choking, except for the Patriots shutting them down. Yeah. Because they played the Seahawks, they played some good defenses, but they got Julio Jones. That's all that matters. You have Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. You got to produce on offense. This is no, we can't get like a 9-yard game from Julio Jones. We need a huge game from him. You're the best receiver in the league. You got to do something. So this is where I'm looking at the Falcons. Julio Jones, I'm pointing a finger at you. You got to produce, because I know you can.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at the Falcons offense as a whole. If you look at their season, they've only had 1 game less than 20 points, and it was against the Eagles. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Yeah. And it really does speak when you have Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. But let's also talk about Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. That's a very dangerous backfield game you got there. And, Andy Leveter also with the offensive line complements it very well. And I got to say that they've definitely grown. I've always kind of looked at Tevin Coleman. I remember watching him back in college. I'm like, this guy could be pretty good in the NFL. And when he went on to the Falcons, I'm like, hey, he's going to be a starter. But it's like, no, Devontae Freeman, turns out he has the same speed, but also, like, the strength.
Yeah, Tevin Coleman was going to be the starter, but in beginning last year, he did something to his ribs. He got hurt. That opened the door for young Devontae Freeman.
Yeah, and let's not forget, the reason Devontae Freeman has become Devontae Freeman, remember Michael Turner?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, I remember Michael Turner.
Remember Michael Turner?
Yeah.
He was nice, though.
He was the guy in Atlanta for the longest time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Devontae Freeman came in. I mean, I remember I had him on fantasy that year. I think I got him in, like, the 7th round, admittedly, way late. And I just remember That's the greatest thing that ever happened to Devontae Freeman is Michael Turner
yeah.
going down hurt, dude. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and this, like you said, Mass, Tevin Coleman was a great player in college. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah, coming out of Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana, awesome player. And you look at Devontae Freeman, also really good in college. But the thing that really sets apart Devontae Freeman is he is an NFL caliber back.
Oh,
He can
yeah.
get it done on his feet. He can get it done mano-a-mano, as in, driving the
Oh,
football. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? He's a physical running back, and he's good.
He's really good.
And like we said earlier, the Patriots' defense is very good. But guess what? So is the Atlanta Falcons' offense.
Super good. Not just
Yeah.
really good, but they're insanely good. Yes, like it is the number one defense, but this Falcons offense is just insane right now. They're playing at a whole new level that no one even can understand
if
right
I were
now.
to honestly hail a comparison for that run game, it kind of reminds me of the Giants back in 07 when
Oh,
they
when
had that fire wind.
Earth, Wind, Fire.
Earth, Wind, and
Yeah.
Fire, yeah. Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw, who's the third guy? I can't remember.
Something weird.
Some other dude,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter because this is the Falcons versus the Patriots Super Bowl preview. This is it. Final predictions, gentlemen. I want to hear, starting with Taylor, what is your prediction for this game? Score, who's the, tell me about it.
Man, I looked long and hard at this game. I really did. I studied up. Usually every year I'll kind of just make a prediction, but this year I actually looked into it real hard. I wanted to make the best possible prediction I could. And the more I look at it, the more I have New England winning this game. And obviously I'm going to sound a little biased because I'm a fan of them, but, with just Tom Brady and that offense and just missing the 4 games, it's almost like kind of cliche to say that he doesn't, walk away with that trophy and, Goodell handing that trophy at the end. But here's the real reason why I really think the Patriots are going to win this game is because, like we said earlier, they can get it done everywhere and anywhere. And this Atlanta Falcons defense is going to have to step up big time because, honestly, I could see Tom Brady coming in pissed and this game being 24-7 at halftime, New England. But one reason why, and here's my final score. I'll give you my final score. I have New England winning this game 31-28, and I actually have this game being very high scoring. As much as we talked up this Patriots defense all here, like we said, this is the Atlanta Falcons offense. I have Matt Ryan going off this game 300-plus yards. I have Julio Jones, 120-plus receiving yards. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the final 3 minutes of this ball game, and I think, one way or another, Tom Brady's going to get that ball with 2 minutes left. And like I said earlier, I think he's going to throw a touchdown pass to either Martellus Bennett, Julian Edelman, or Dion Lewis with about a minute left. And I just think that's how that's going to end. It's going to be a great game.
Oh, it's going to be a great game, and I'm going to have to go against you with this. Atlanta Falcons, the first Super Bowl appearance since '98. I just feel like they can get it done. I just think Matt Ryan, they showed against the Packers. They had 8 possessions. They scored 7 of 8 possessions. They can score a lot of possessions. That's the thing. Yes, the Patriots defense is good, but if the Falcons can score on that first drive, then maybe get a field goal for the Patriots and score on that next drive, then score on another drive after that. If they can have a good first half, start out hot, get some points, stack up some points because you're going to need against Tom Brady, I feel like the Falcons can win. And I feel like they can come out hot and they're just going to come out firing. Those first couple possessions, they're going to take control of the games like, okay, we're going to score. And I feel like that defense won't shut down the Patriots offense because, yes, it is very hard. You got Tom Brady, LeGarrette Blount, all that. But I feel like Vic Beasley's going to have a huge game. I think that Patriots offensive line is very spotty sometimes. He's an athlete. He can rush the passer. He can drop back and cover sometimes too. And he's a good tackler. I feel like he can do a lot against Tom Brady, get some pressure from one side of the pocket. And that whole, defensive line for the Falcons, a little underrated. They can get some pressure. But I think led by Vic Beasley needs to have a big game if the Falcons want to win. Yes, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones can have a big game, like you said, and the Patriots can still win. But if Vic Beasley can get pressure on the quarterback, that's the key of my game. Vic Beasley getting pressure on Tom Brady, and I believe the Falcons can win. And I think this final score can be, I'm going to say 34-30, Falcons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. It's going to be a high-scoring game because we saw 2 years ago with the Seahawks and the Patriots. It was also a high-scoring game with 2 tough defenses. The Legion of Boom versus the Patriots, tough defense.
Mm-hmm.
And my prediction is I think I'm going to go with the Falcons winning this game 31-30. Going to be close, but I'm not going to predict any last-second touchdowns or anything like that. I feel like it's probably going to be a more defensive stop. And to further add on to that, I feel like Vic Beasley's going to have a really good game. I feel like he's probably going to have maybe a couple sacks, forced fumble. He's definitely going to be a big part of it. Desmond Trufant's probably going to actually play pretty solid, like he always does. And I'm thinking Tom Brady's going to have a good game too. And I'm not going to say the Patriots defense is going to do bad, but I'm saying when you're versing the Atlanta Falcons and the offense they have in a neutral location that's not Foxborough, so it's definitely a different climate, culture. It definitely a psychological difference. And I think when you put it in that situation, the Falcons are just going to score a bunch on you. But otherwise, though, it's going to be a great game. It's going to happen this Sunday, 6 o'clock, around that time. I'm not sure. We don't have to be that specific on here. But let's move on now to Minute with Mino, real quick. Earlier this week, offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan lost his playbook in his backpack for the Super Bowl after a busy press conference at the Minute Maid Park. Shanahan paced around the facility until a Falcons security guard found it. It looks like the Falcons don't need to worry about any cheating possibilities from the Patriots this year. In other news, Shanahan will likely join John Lynch, who is now the general manager for the San Francisco 49ers. This is seen as a good move, as Shanahan will likely become head coach for a desperate 49er squad with a bad offense. After clinching Super Bowl 49 in a last-second interception, former MVP Malcolm Butler believes he is destined for more than a one-play career. Starting cornerback hopes to have another defining moment as he and Devin McCourty will likely face Julio Jones together at Super Bowl 51. So, gentlemen, let's move on now from Super Bowl 51. Will Malcolm Butler have that defining moment and become, dare I say it, the MVP? If not, who is going to be MVP? Taylor, what do you think?
Well, it's funny you brought up Malcolm Butler because it seems like he's going to be a big central topic this week for obvious reasons. He was, goes without saying, the hero versus the Seahawks. He won the Super Bowl for the Patriots on that last play. Malcolm Butler, I really like him. I think he's gutsy. He's one of those guys that didn't go to a big-name school, had to work his way up. He's a hard worker. He's got good character, great locker room presence. I don't think he's an elite corner, though. And I'm sorry, I'd love to say he is. He's not. And that's why I think it's going to be interesting with him facing off Julio Jones, because Julio Jones is an elite receiver. So as far as that goes, that's how I see that going down. I see him, giving Julio a run for his money, but I just don't see Julio getting shut down in this game. Malcolm's a good corner and all, but, no disrespect. I just think Julio Jones is Julio Jones.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as MVP goes, obviously earlier in the show I said the Patriots are my winner, so obviously I have to go with, the MVP for the Patriots. And goes without saying, I hate to say it's an obvious one, but Tom Brady's going to get the MVP if the Patriots win this game because, like I said, the reason the Patriots are winning this game is because the New England offense is going to be too much for the New England defense, and the New England offense is going to be too much because Tom Brady's going to be too much. And as much as I'd like to say maybe this is the year the run game takes it over in the Super Bowl for the Patriots, it's not. Like I was saying earlier, Tom Brady's going to find a way. He's going to get everyone involved. He's going to get Mitchell involved. He's going to get Floyd involved. He's going to get Amendola, Hogan. He's going to get Martellus Bennett, Dion Lewis on some slip screens, wheel routes. So ultimately, and this is one of the big things in the NFL you kind of always wonder, the quarterbacks kind of get all the credit because, Tom Brady can throw like a slip screen to Dion Lewis, and he can run that thing 98 yards, but it shows up as a touchdown pass and 98-yard throw for Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, I just think he wins MVP because he's just going to take all the stats, So I just think, as much as I'd like to give you guys a new, fresh face to win MVP, I'm sorry, Tom Brady's taking the MVP.
And don't forget, in Super Bowl 49 against the Seahawks, Tom Brady threw 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers, which only made it that much easier for him. And the run game was kind of there, but also a little bit non-existent.
The run game's never really been too present in New England. It's been kind of hard since Corey Dillon left. They haven't really had like an elite running back per se.
Yeah.
And Corey Dillon, let's not forget, was a really good running back in his day, So it's like ever since then they've been kind of switching guys in and out. Stephen Ridley, Shane Vereen, James White.
Yeah, LeGarrette Blount's pretty close to that.
Blount, yeah.
LeGarrette Blount's making a run.
Leaving New England, going away, and then coming back. That says something. Belichick and Kraft brought him back into the system. He's not the fastest guy out there, but man, is that guy a truck.
Done.
He is a truck on that field. He is a force.
Definitely. Mike, let's hear what you think. And I just told Carson Wentz isn't the answer. It's not right.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Hopefully next year. But now, earlier in our show, yes, Taylor said the Patriots won. I said the Falcons were winning, and if the Falcons win, in my opinion, if the Falcons are going to win, it's going to be because of Julio Jones and how great of a game he's going to have. And I just look at him. This dude is a monster. He averages over 100 yards per game over his career. He had 2 years out of his 6 years playing where he didn't have 1,000 yards, and he would have got 1,000 yards if he didn't get hurt. So he's just an animal. He knows how to catch the ball. He knows how to run with it. He knows how to bully cornerbacks. He knows how to do it all. And I feel like Matt Ryan can just really throw the ball his way a lot of times. And Julio Jones, he's a big guy. He can catch the ball and get some yards. And he has to score the touchdowns. I want to see him score the touchdowns because he's their biggest threat. So he has to do something. But I think Julio Jones can get upwards, of what he did in the championship game, 182 touchdowns. He can get somewhere in that area. I think the Falcons have a good shot of winning, and if the Falcons win, he does something like that, he has a good shot of getting MVP. So Julio Jones is my MVP pick because he can really ball out this game. It's going to be exciting to watch.
Exactly, because Butler and McCourty have definitely done a good job at their roles at safety and
But this is Julio Jones. No one talks about it. Everybody talks about A.J. Green's 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons, but Julio Jones, I mean, if you sit down and watch this guy play, I mean, it's kind of a stretch, but I can put him up there with Randy Moss and stuff. Like, he's that much of a talent.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
No one talks about him because he's with the Atlanta Falcons, but he's a talent like that.
Yeah.
He's a genetic monster, and he can just bully anybody he wants to. So I just feel like it's really a mismatch no matter who you put on him, honestly. I just feel like Julio Jones is just, Malcolm Butler, he's a little undersized and everything, but he's good, but not on Julio Jones' level.
I feel you. And, with my prediction, since I said the Falcons would be winning it, I'd have to go with Vic Beasley just because I think, the Falcons' offense can probably do enough to get the points that they need. It might be Jones, it might be Freeman, it might be Matty Ice throwing to 3 different receivers. I feel like it doesn't really matter. I feel like the Falcons' offense, even if Jones wasn't there, could still play at a pretty good caliber.
Oh yeah.
They wouldn't be able to make it to the Super Bowl without Julio Jones. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I'm sure they can still score 24, 27, possibly 30 points. But Vic Beasley, getting back to my main point here, is really going to have to make this important because remember back in the AFC Championship game last year when the Broncos won the Super Bowl, Tom Brady was sacked 4 times. I believe he was hurried 17 or hit 17, one of those two. And it kind of gets to him. It kind of aggravates him. And, when he can't really produce a lot of points, especially with Steven Gostowski missing a field goal that probably could have helped them tie up the game, go to overtime, it just didn't. And I think really the pressure to Tom Brady is what you can do because I think you have a defense that can stop their receivers, but you can't stop an elite quarterback like that. So you really have to just get to him. And I'm going to make a bold prediction that Vic Beasley is going to score a touchdown. And I'm going to make an even bolder prediction that it's going to be in the first quarter. It's going to be a strip sack, fumble, pick up the ball, return it into the end zone. If that doesn't happen, then Patriots probably going to win.
Win for pass rush. You saw Von Miller last year doing some damage to the Super Bowl. Vic Beasley coming along this year. Hey, pass rushers are getting it done right now. They're making their bread.
Yeah, as good as Tom Brady is, you brought up a great point. Tom Brady is not really Tom Brady when he's under pressure.
Yeah,
and it's like
around.
People always ask, how do you stop him? I'm no expert here. I'm no defensive coordinator, but I just think you get to him.
Yeah, you just hit him in the mouth. That's how you stop everybody.
There's no denying this offensive line has always been very solid in New England. He's been very spoiled. He's had good offensive linemen, but this year they haven't been as good. And especially with a guy like Vic Beasley on defense. This is Vic Beasley we're talking about. This guy is a monster. Probably one of the best defensive players in the NFL. I'd put him in the top 5 right now.
Led the league in sacks, so he can get it done.
Ever since he got drafted, that kid has just been unreal. I really could easily see him getting to Tom Brady at least 4 times this game. Maybe not 4 sacks, but he's going to pressure him. If he does, Mr. Brady's going to get a little frustrated. And when Mr. Brady gets a little frustrated, the rest of the team does because this team feeds off Tom Brady's attitude.
Exactly. And speaking of Tom Brady, he's going to be without one of his best targets this weekend, Rob Gronkowski. Now, given Bill Belichick's status with other superstar players that tend to get injured a lot, it definitely gives to the notion that Rob Gronkowski could see himself playing for another team after this season. I want to know, Taylor, what do you think about that? Do you think that the Patriots would keep him or not?
I think they're going to keep him in the long run because he is Rob Gronkowski. However, if you're a Patriots fan and if you love the New England Patriots and you want what's best for this team, you will be willing to look at trading Rob Gronkowski and having a more open mindset about this because while Rob Gronkowski is arguably the best tight end in the league, even being injured, it's like he still runs it when he's not around. He doesn't even got to be in town, and he's still the mayor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's Rob Gronkowski is a freak of nature, and if he stays healthy, he will be the greatest tight end in the NFL. I will go that far. I will say he'll pass, Tony Gonzalez. I think Tony Gonzalez is currently the greatest tight end to ever live, but that's just opinion wise. I think if he stays healthy, he is the greatest tight end in the NFL. Here's the deal: he's never healthy. And when he's healthy, the Patriots are unreal. But you want to know what? The Patriots are unreal without him. So when you look at this, I think in the long run, you don't trade him because of just the value he brings to your team. So my final answer, sorry to kind of dance around the question, my final answer is no, you don't trade Rob Gronkowski. However, if there is a little bit extra, maybe some draft picks, maybe, a couple veterans or two, if you're Robert Kraft, it's not impossible that you trade Rob Gronkowski in a situation like that.
It's for sure not unrealistic that can happen. In my opinion, I think it will happen. I don't think after this season or next, but I feel like if he gets in, around a 30-year-old age, early 30s, he maybe, have another injury or two, and some teams like, hey, yeah, he is a little bit older in early 30s, but it's still Rob Gronkowski. He can do a little something for us. We'll get a little sweet deal for Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick over there and send it their way, see what happens. So I feel like given the right deal, they can definitely trade Gronk. They traded players before. Richard Seymour, Randy Moss, Logan Mankins, they just let Wes Welker go after the 2012 season when Wes Welker was an animal in the slot. So it could definitely happen. He can't stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be a Patriot till the day he dies, in my opinion. But it's just if he has another injury or two and it just starts getting under their skin and he needs money, but the Patriots are not going to give him money if he keeps getting hurt. So we've seen the Patriots, they did with Jamie Collins. You want money? All right, well, we'll trade you. Next man up, we'll get someone. So I feel like it's a real possibility they can trade Gronk.
And I think that honestly, like if Martellus Bennett wasn't there, then it'd definitely be a harder decision to make. But with Martellus Bennett there and the fact that the Patriots are probably just going to draft like the next greatest tight end anyway. We saw with Aaron Hernandez to Rob Gronkowski.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows? Patriots could go.
I think a name to look out for. They have a later pick in the first round, O.J. Howard, Alabama. I mentioned him last show. Tight end getting first round stock. I mean, later in the first round, Martellus Bennett's on a 1-year deal. He's in his 30s. Maybe Martellus Bennett goes somewhere for more money, or he can come back with the Patriots, obviously. But that's a tight end replacement they can find for at least Martellus Bennett if he doesn't come back. Yeah. But Gronk, if they eventually want to trade him, because O.J. Howard's supposed to be a really good tight end, so maybe they can get a rookie tight end, get him on a rookie contract for 4 years, trade Gronk, get some picks, and rebuild and start gearing up for the post Tom Brady era and keep that dynasty going. So it's definitely they have a lot of options to do with him. So it's definitely really interesting to see what Robert Kraft and company does.
And so with that, who knows what we're going to see with Rob Gronkowski. But let's move on to this Falcons team. Going to the Super Bowl this year for the first time since the first time they went, in which they lost to the Denver Broncos. So we could see the Falcons win the Super Bowl for the first time. But a more interesting question is, are we in the midst of a Falcons dynasty right now? Like for the next 5 years, could we see the Falcons doing the same exact thing, getting the same exact results? Taylor, what do you think?
I don't think so. No disrespect to what they've done this season. I think with a guy like Matt Ryan, for as talented he is, and like me and Mike were saying earlier, he should be the MVP. I don't really see in the next 5 years. I could easily see them making another Super Bowl, but will they stay consistent? Will they be that dominant force in the NFC? It seems like every year the AFC you can kind of figure out who's going to be in the Super Bowl.
It's the same three teams.
You
every
got your
year.
same three teams. The NFC for me always a toss up every year, and that's why even though I'm not a fan of the NFC, I'm more of an AFC guy. I love watching the NFC so much more because it's a toss up. So it's definitely possible that the Falcons could easily be a dynasty, but it's also very possible that they could just fall off the map. I mean, we saw with the Carolina Panthers, unreal year. Cam Newton played out of his mind, favorites to win the Super Bowl, not going to front, very cocky team, And then what did we see this year? We saw Cam Newton, very poor. I mean, poor. I don't know. I gotta say anything. Poor.
Yeah.
That was the Carolina Panthers season this year, and I fear that for the Atlanta Falcons next year. I don't see the AFC South bulking up anytime soon. The New Orleans Saints are kind of falling off here. Drew Brees, unfortunately, is getting old, as we all know. The Buccaneers with Jameis Winston, they got something there, but Jameis has got to grow. And don't get me wrong, he has grown a lot as a young quarterback, but they need a little bit extra on defense and a little extra on offense. So as far as the AFC South goes, I think the Falcons will have that unlocked for the next 4 years. That's my personal opinion. Will they get back to where they are now? No. And I'm sorry, but as good as they are talent-wise, I just don't think with the system they have and the chemistry they have that they're good enough to stay consistent. Like we said earlier, they played a lot of close games versus very poor teams earlier in the season. They did stay inconsistent. They are at this point, granted, but I just don't see them being, quote-unquote, a dynasty with a quarterback like Matt Ryan, unfortunately.
I have to disagree with you on this. I believe I'm not saying dynasty Falcons are winning a lot of Super Bowls like the Patriots did, but I think NFC is always a really different conference because you really don't have a top tier. You have a really gigantic middle tier pool with pretty much every team, and you have a couple lower tier teams. So the NFC really is a toss up every year. You saw the Cowboys really maybe sometimes favored to win the division. They got the number 1 seed. but they lost Aaron Rodgers. So you still have Aaron Rodgers in that conference for a couple of years. You know he's really good. Maybe the Packers can figure it out. The Bucs in the NFC South, they can come up, get some stuff going. But I just look at this Falcons team, and I just think they just have everything in place. They got Matt Ryan. He's still relatively young. He knows how to win some games. You know, he's their franchise quarterback. You have Julio Jones, who's still super young, 6 years in the league, and Devontae Freeman, who's only a 24-year-old with Tevin Coleman backing him up. So they have pieces to really keep this consistency over the next 3 years, because it's not like the Panthers. The Panthers really only have Kelvin Benjamin, no receivers after that. Jonathan Stewart is an okay running back, but nothing special. And Cam Newton is just really inconsistent, and their offensive line is awful. So that's why we saw that with the Panthers. The Falcons, I feel like they have some pieces in place. They can add some pieces on their defense. Vic Beasley's an up-and-coming superstar. They have some nice secondary pieces to work with. So I think while they won't win Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl, but they can definitely make a lot of NFC Conference Championship games, maybe another Super Bowl or two in the next 5 years, because they have the pieces in place. So I feel like they can definitely make that run, because it's there for the taking. They can definitely win this division the next couple of years until the Buccaneers really show some big strides. It's just how good are the Cowboys going to be next year? Can the Packers figure it out? Can surprise teams come up? Who knows? But I think the Falcons definitely have it in place where they can make a lot of good deep runs in the playoffs in the next couple of years. So who knows? I think it's a real high possibility.
I think I have to disagree with that and agree with Taylor that I think the Falcons might start dropping off. And I think is that you make a good point, is that the Falcons do have some better pieces than the Carolina Panthers, but I still think that they're going to end up like the Carolina Panthers. I think, first of all, like you have the Falcons are emerging a lot of superstars right now that are going to demand a lot of money. I don't think everyone out of this like 5-man group, Jones, Freeman, Coleman, Ryan, and Beasley, I don't think all 5 of them can stay. Maybe Matt Ryan will, Julio Jones probably will, and Devontae Freeman. But then again, you have to make Vic Beasley a priority. But I just think the Falcons, and for a lot of reasons, I think, but to disagree with Taylor, is that they actually have a tough division. Is that I think, next year we could see the Buccaneers doing really well. And I think what the Buccaneers have is actually what the Falcons have, but potentially better. You have Jameis Winston, who's a young potential franchise quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You have the defense, which is playing, I think, very well.
A lot of growth in that defense.
Exactly. And then you have Doug Martin in the backfield. I think the Buccaneers just add a few more things on the offense, like a solid wide receiver or, another running back to add to that rotation. We could see another Falcons that competes with them. Drew Brees and the Saints, we might not see the same thing with them, as much as it kind of like saddens me to see Drew Brees maybe not be successful in his last few years. But hey, you never know. The Saints could always draft a Vic Beasley type player who might change it up.
Drew Brees can sling it still, so watch out. He can still sling it.
5,200 yards, man. I'm just saying, dude can still sling it. You can keep him for another 2 years. So you never know when the Saints could actually draft the next Tracy Porter or someone just crazy for that
because their defense is not good.
It's bad and it's been bad. But and then in the Panthers are just a weird situation because I don't even really think Cam Newton is consistent. But that's another subject for another time. Let's move on to the downside, where let's talk about the Patriots dynasty. This thing is never ending. For the past 20,000 bajillion years, we've had Tom Brady and Bill Belichick just destroying everything.
Evil empire.
The way of the NFL has been destroyed. The empire has taken over. We need a new hope. A lot of people want Matty Ice to be that new hope. I'm hoping it was Carson Wentz, but we'll see.
It's going to be Carson Wentz.
It is going to be Carson Wentz because we're gonna get that. But right now, this Patriots dynasty is just crazy. And do you guys see this dynasty ending even after Tom Brady retires, which could be soon?
It seems like Tom Brady's just gonna go till he's 60. So honestly, I don't know. What were you talking about? 2035 here? Where are we telling you?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, to be completely serious. I don't see them being as dominant. I think they're still going to be AFC East champs for about 6 of the 10 years after Tom Brady leaves, and I'm going to tell you why. It's all about, for me, everyone talks about when Tom Brady's going to leave. I'm worried about when Bill Belichick's going to leave.
Yeah.
Because once Bill Belichick leaves and Tom Brady leaves, then I can start talking about the other teams finally getting in the mix. I think it'll be interesting, honestly. I think with where Tom Brady's at in his career right now, the year is 2017. I think 2021... he calls it quits, and I think by then, as biased as it sounds, he'll have 6 rings. I think he'll have a ring for every finger, and he'll have a 6th ring, and I think he'll call it quits after one. I think he'll pull a Poppy, he'll end up, on a high note, a big Poppy. But I think once he leaves and once Bill Belichick leaves, my personal opinion, I think this is the Dolphins' division to take. Because
they have a really solid
team. A really young, solid team. Let's not forget, they did get beat up this year in the wild card. but who was their quarterback? It was Matt Moore.
Yeah.
And as much as I don't like to give a lot of credit to Ryan Tannehill, personally, I think he's a little overrated. He is a solid quarterback, and
Matt Moore wasn't even bad either.
He wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Fantastic backup,
Yeah.
and you saw what they were able to do with the backup. What they had their starter in. I mean, who knows? What if? I mean, it's in Pittsburgh, but it's a game if they got Ryan Tannehill under center. You know what I'm saying? So, it's gonna end. It's not like the Patriots are just gonna dominate it for the next 100+ years. I just think it's not ending anytime soon. Or anytime we're in college. I think I'll reiterate, once Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and a good majority of that defense is gone, then this is a completely different system. It's all about, and see, for me personally, I love Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo should be the future of New England. I see very much resemblance to Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo, but here's the problem. Jimmy Garoppolo is probably going to be gone within the next 2 years.
I saw some stuff that the Browns were talking to the Patriots.
Yeah.
About Jimmy Garoppolo coming to Cleveland. Yeah. So I mean that's a possibility too, because the Browns need to do something. And honestly, you are going to have Tom Brady for the next at least 4 years, like you said. So that is interesting what to do with Jimmy G.
Well, this team has been built off quarterback success with Tom Brady, and that's why it's kind of hard to give you a straightforward answer, to be honest with you, Mass. Because if you think about it, me personally, I think Garoppolo's gone by 2019, and I think Brady's gone by 2021. Who in God's name is going to be the quarterback by then? We have no idea. Who in God's name is going to be our coach? We have no idea.
He's still in middle school right now.
Yeah, and I think right now the reason the Patriots are the Patriots is because Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. And so once they leave, I think it's going to be a while till they start winning Super Bowls. And if they do win a Super Bowl, it's not going to be like the usual Patriots. They win the Super Bowl and they're right back in it. I think this team's going to be a Super Bowl appearance team once every 4 years from now on. I think AFC championships are a little different. I think they'll still compete for AFC championships because while Bill Belichick and Tom Brady will be gone by that time, it is the New England Patriots, and it is a very solid system. It's also all going to depend on Robert Kraft. Where's Robert Kraft at in his life? Robert Kraft is a fantastic owner. He has done an unbelievable job in Foxborough. So it's those three guys. And I think the dynasty ends. It's just, final answer. It's going to end just no time soon.
Yeah, I agree with you. No time soon. I mean, there's a possibility. I think as soon as Tom Brady retires, you'll get a little decline. But it all depends who the quarterbacks after that. But you have that, then all depends who the coach is. If Bill Belichick's still there, I feel like they can do good. But can they still get some coordinators come up? Because I feel like Matt Patricia and Josh McDaniels will eventually lead the head coaching jobs. They're not going to be coordinators for their whole life. So I just want to see what Robert Kraft does with this whole situation. How long can he get Bill Belichick to stay? How long can Bill Belichick stay successful? Because without Tom Brady and stuff, some defensive pieces leaving. So really, it really is up in the air because we know they're in the Super Bowl. They're in the Super Bowl a couple days from now. They have a really good shot being in the next couple Super Bowls coming up. So it's really hard to tell. It will eventually end. All good things coming to an end. But it's just a matter. Well, it's just a matter really. Bill Belichick. Will he go? Will he stay? How long can you ride it out? How long can Robert Kraft ride it out? How long is Tom Brady staying? Is he calling it quits after next year, or is he playing another 4 years like he says he can? So it's really all up in the air. It will end soon. It's just a matter of when, and it all depends on the really big three-headed monster, like Taylor said.
If I could be honest, I don't really think the dynasty's ever gonna end. Here's what I have to say is that I feel like the Patriots, Packers, Steelers, and even the Cowboys, unfortunately, are kind of like those universally good teams throughout history. Even Packers. Let's go back to the beginning of football. Vince Lombardi won 2 Super Bowls, and then after he retired, the Packers are still a good team. We know how the Steelers and Cowboys had a great rivalry in the 90s. Steelers are still a good team with Mike Tomlin, and they have a great situation going on for them right now. Cowboys, even though they've had some very bad years,
really weird years.
We watch their seasons though, and there's always a reason they're not good, or there's always and it's as an Eagles fan, I can even admit watching the Cowboys every year, it's this is a team that could be good every year, but there's always Tony Romo's injured, the backup can't do it, or the defense just sucks really bad. But it's always the one thing that holds them back, and then we saw this year with Dak Prescott and the Cowboys that they're getting better. So I see the Patriots. And I agree with both of you guys. It's Bill Belichick. It's definitely Tom Brady. After he retires, there is going to be a little decline. But I really feel like Bill Belichick is the guy that's keeping it together because it's not only him; it's his coaching staff that he's accrued up. It's the players want to play for Bill Belichick all the time. Even players that get traded. What was the name of the player? I can't remember. The one who got traded to Arizona from the Patriots literally thanked Bill Belichick that he was traded to the Cardinals because it was a good team. And it just shows like players must really have
Chandler Jones.
Yeah,
Chandler Jones.
yeah.
That's who it was. Is that I think we perceive Bill Belichick to be like this I'm the emperor of the empire, I'm this very dark guy, but then it's like
He's
a
Darth
lot
Vader,
of
man. He's Darth Vader.
a lot
He
of
is.
players actually have a lot, not even on the Patriots too, but a lot of players have respect for Bill Belichick, and I think even after he retires, he and Robert Kraft are probably going to work hard to find a guy who's going to continue to do the same thing, and that's why I really think the Patriots. They might not win a Super Bowl every 2 years like they have been or something like that, but they're definitely still going to be that team winning the AFC East once every 3 years, once every 2 years, winning a Super Bowl once every 5 to 10, who knows, because they're just that team.
Yeah, contrary to Seth MacFarlane's belief, Bill Belichick actually does smile. He actually does have a heart. And like you said, Mass, Bill Belichick's kind of viewed as this mean guy, and I'm not going to lie, in the media and all the press conferences, it's hard to like the guy. He's got a very, stingy kind of attitude, but you can't doubt how much respect this man has throughout the league from all the other coaches, from all the other players. And like you said at the very start of the show, Mike, earlier this week, he came up on that podium and he said, "Good to be back," as in, let's get it done. This is nothing new to Bill Belichick. This is just another...
Oh, he's been around a block a couple times.
Same game, different year.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same old situation. Bill Belichick knows this situation way too familiar. And you have to think, if a coach knows the situation like the back of his hand, that says something about the coach.
Oh, yeah.
Both, as a coach in general and as a guy, in the locker room with the players. If you talk to the New England Patriots, they love playing for this guy. And when he leaves New England, I think there's going to be a huge gap there. And everyone would like to say the dynasty ends when Tom Brady leaves. No, the dynasty ends when Bill Belichick leaves.
Yep, I agree.
That'll definitely be an upside. But speaking of the upside, let's move on to that segment now. And so let's move on to the upside now, where we have the NFL ending, which is not really an upside, but at least we have the offseason coming up. We should have some pretty interesting things in free agency, some trades. Mike, let's start off with you. What are some things that are going to interest you this offseason?
Definitely a big name out of free agency, Alshon Jeffrey from Chicago. He said he wants to play with the Bears. He even went with a stretch saying the Bears are going to win the Super Bowl next year. What a statement by Alshon Jeffrey, to say the least. But honestly, I don't know why you would say that when you shouldn't belong in Chicago next year. He needs to move out. Jay Cutler is not a good quarterback. They're going to move on from him. They're just really in a rebuilding era. Yes, they can lock Alshon Jeffrey up with a lot of money. But if Alshon's looking out for himself, he'll take some money somewhere else, try to win a ring, try to win something at least, because the Bears are going to be good for the next couple of years. So if he's smart, he's gonna take offers from other teams. A team maybe like the Eagles, they need a receiver. They don't have a lot of money, but they got a little bit of it. They can put some money towards Alshon Jeffrey and be like, here, we need you. We have Carson Wentz. We can get some things going over here with you. So maybe a team can lure him away from Chicago, and I really think a team can, because he shouldn't stay in Chicago if he's looking out for himself, because if he wants to win, he needs to move on from there, because it is not a good situation in Chicago.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that Alshon Jeffrey should go away from Chicago, and I'm thinking more of a team like the Buccaneers or the Rams to help out Jared Goff, or any team with the young quarterback, even Marcus Mariota with the Titans. I don't really see the Eagles just because I feel like, one, we don't really have the money, and two, I just feel like as an Eagles fan, the curse of just getting the number one superstar guy just never works out. And then if you've seen in the Eagles' past transactions, we had Malcolm Jenkins over Jarris Byrd and
TJ Ward.
TJ Ward,
exactly.
yeah.
I remember that class.
And we chose Malcolm Jenkins instead. And honestly,
That worked out.
That was probably the
Thank
best
you, Chip
decision
Kelly.
we've
That's the only
made.
time I'll say that.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
the only time I'll
TJ
say
Ward
that.
is nice, but honestly, I'm so glad we have Malcolm Jenkins, because for less money, he was putting up
better.
just as much of a
Oh, yeah.
performance, even better. But when talking about Alshon Jeffrey, I don't honestly see him playing in Chicago next
I
year.
I like that Bucks thing you mentioned, because they do need a receiver, and the Bucks really, they have a lot of rookie contracts on their team, so they got some money they can throw at him real quick.
Definitely.
With some money they're gonna gain up from salary caps going up and like years coming up. They have some money they can throw towards, like, here, come join out with Mike Evans. You got Jameis Winston just throwing the ball 50 yards downfield. You trying to win a ring or something?
Exactly.
That's what I would be like if I was Tampa, and honestly, it's a great selling point, because Chicago's nothing like that.
Yeah, and just to kind of add on, interest the conversation, one guy that it kind of stood out to me when I was reading up about who's available and who's not. Brandon Williams, a defensive tackle in Baltimore. As we all know, Baltimore has the fifth least cap space right now. So the odds of them re-signing him are quite low, and Baltimore is just in kind of a situation right
They're
now.
in a weird situation.
They're in a weird
Really
situation
tough
right
spot.
now. And you want to know who I look directly at for a team that needs a pass rusher desperately? The San Francisco 49ers. And with a new system, with John Lynch coming in as GM, I think this is a new look for the 49ers. I think There's still a lot of holes, but I could easily see him fitting into San Francisco perfectly. They could afford him. They have a lot of space right now. That's the one thing the Niners have going for them right now.
Yeah, they got some
Cap
cap space. That's good.
I like him in San Francisco, and I like Steven Gilmore. I like him moving from Buffalo to Carolina, and I like him in Carolina because right now Carolina, ever since Norman left, has just been really crappy, to say the least, in the secondary-wise. They got beat a lot this year. Steven Gilmore is a very solid player. He was solid in college. He's been solid in the NFL, and I think he deserves a new home. Buffalo really just hasn't worked out to the fullest for him, and I think with a system like Carolina, he could end up striving there. This goes without saying, though, one player that absolutely needs to be re-signed is A.J. Boye, cornerback for the Houston Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Houston, listen to me right now. You need to re-sign this man. This guy is a freak of nature.
Pay this man.
He is the future of the secondary of the NFL. I could easily see him being top 25 greatest corners of all time by the end of his career. This guy's unfreaking
He was ranked in the top 10 this year.
He's unreal.
He's good. He's young too.
I don't know what if the Houston Texans are at the Whataburger right now or something, but they need to get back to the front office.
Whataburger's nice.
All right, it's all right. They need to get back to the front office, all right, and they need to re-sign A.J. Boye right now. And oh, by the way, Le'Veon Bell's a free agent. Pittsburgh, if you already haven't re-signed him, re-sign him now, because if you lose Le'Veon Bell, you lose everything right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Le'Veon Bell, the Steelers said they might franchise tag him, which I mean honestly makes sense. The franchise tag for running backs this year isn't really high. I believe it's only around like 11 to 12 million the franchise tag, so that's not insane amount of money, especially for Le'Veon Bell, who's a really good running back. But another person who can get the franchise tag is Kirk Cousins. He just played on the franchise tag. But when he got asked if, do you mind playing on another franchise tag, when he was talking to the media, he was like, I really don't care. I'm just going to go out there and play. Like, I got nothing to fear. Like, I'm just trying to ball out. Which, shows a lot of confidence. And I like Kirk Cousins. He's a quarterback that can sling a little bit. He can get some yards. With some pieces like the Redskins have, he can do some things. So, like, that's intriguing. It's just when are the Redskins scared to lock him down? And can he get upset with all these multiple franchise tags and maybe have his last year in Washington this year? And who knows? So those are two names with the franchise tag.
And I think
that can happen.
Mm-hmm, with the attitude and play of Kirk Cousins too, is that it's pretty much like for the Redskins, like why wouldn't you sign him? And it's like this is a dude who actually wants to play for organization, doesn't really care about the money part of it. Kind of similar to another great quarterback, Drew Brees, who doesn't care about.
He just wants to play, man. He just wants to ball out.
And that's a good sign for someone like Kirk Cousins, who's young and who plays well. And it's good for Washington to have a quarterback situation like this, like a contract situation, because it's at least like, hey, like we actually have a guy we can sign for the next 6 years. He could be our guy, unlike the 49ers who were mentioning earlier. And I just have to say, and I know I already destroyed him last week, but I need to do it again. But if Colin Kaepernick is still on the 49ers team, they're not getting more than 3 wins next year. They need to get rid of him and draft a quarterback, especially if Kyle Shanahan is gonna be able to coach this offense here, because it's practically dead without Carlos Hyde and Carlos Hyde alone, honestly.
Yeah.
So you need like a quarterback, even if they get Jimmy G or just someone consistent, because they're not going to be able to do it with Colin Kaepernick. Not even Blaine Gabbert either, but especially Colin Kaepernick. Christian Ponder, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Another name I want to talk about, though, let's go this real quick. Terrell Pryor. Restricted free agent from Cleveland. He said, surprisingly, he did say this, I am not lying. He said he wouldn't mind staying in Cleveland. Well, Terrell, I have something for you. Get out of Cleveland as quick as you can. They're not good. They're not going to be good. And you need to get somewhere. Hey, maybe Philly. I want all these receivers in Philly. I might sound a little biased, but
no, don't worry about it.
Carson needs some help, homie. So I'm saying Terrell Pryor. He can get some money. He has good talent. He's big. He's fast. He can catch the ball a little bit. Showed a lot of potential in Cleveland. And if he stays in Cleveland, he's just going to keep showing potential, because he's not going to get anywhere further that, because it's Cleveland. He's not going to do anything. I mean, yes, Hugh Jackson's a good coach. They have two early draft picks. They can get something going. But I feel like for him right now, he needs to get out of there. He can get some money somewhere else and get on a good team. Good. But I want to see him leave Cleveland. I really don't want to see his talent wasted, because this guy, he is talented, and we really don't talk about him because he's on Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, building off your point for Cleveland right now, the one thing about the Browns, even after this disaster of a year, they really can only look at the positives at this point. And something a lot of people don't talk about with the Cleveland Browns is how much cap space they have right now, and how, I mean, obviously it's not the offseason yet, so we aren't seeing moves for obvious reasons, but they have a chance to they're not going to win a division next year or anything
Yeah,
like
who
that.
knows?
But heck, I mean, they can go 500 if they play their cards right in the offseason. I look at 3 guys that they can easily afford and that they can easily attain. Jason Pierre-Paul, New York Giants. You have Melvin Ingram, San Diego Chargers, and you have Rob Ninkovich on the New England Patriots. All 3 of those guys they can afford. They already have Jamie Collins in Cleveland right now. Jamie Collins is doing what he can with the Browns. You got to feel bad for Jamie Collins, as talented as he is.
Really bad.
And like you said, it's a poor system. But listen, it's not unrealistic that they could sign a guy like Melvin Ingram and then sign either a guy like Rob Ninkovich or a guy like Jefferson, a safety from Arizona. They could get some solid defensive players here. And listen, defense does win championships, as cliche as that sounds. I feel like Cleveland always tries to focus way too much on the quarterback, getting that quarterback. No.
Yeah, they try too much.
Right now,
Focus on the defense and everything else pretty much.
Just
right,
get a team in place first.
Yeah, right now they got to get a team. And I think right now you look at the defense because there's something to add up. I think we need to go back to the lab here for a second because all our equations lead right back to, if we just get this quarterback and this offense, we'll be good. It's not working.
It's not that simple.
It's not going to work.
No.
It hasn't been working. It's time to look at defense. You got a lot of good free agents available right now.
Hey, and the first overall pick and get Myles Garrett out of Texas A&M, who's the next coming
There we
of
go.
someone who
Yeah.
can just be great in this league. So yeah,
All of a
Cleveland
sudden,
could
look
do
at
something.
that defense,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, and that's not unrealistic. I mean, we're talking about the Browns here, obviously, but they have a lot of cap space. Any team can be successful with a lot of
They
cap
can definitely
space.
get creative with it.
And that definitely moves on to our next and final topic, teams that we want to see on the up next year. And to me personally, the winning formula for a team is a great offense with an elite quarterback with an amazing pass rush. And I think if you have that, the secondary doesn't really matter as long as you have a tough secondary, guys who can at least cover. And I feel like that's the recipe that the Browns could use, the Titans could use, the 49ers could definitely use. And those 3 teams in general, I think, because they sort of have the pieces. Like for the Browns, for example, I like Hugh Jackson. I think he's a good play caller, and I think he's doing what he can to definitely work around the team. He's got the receivers. And I kind of like Carl Nassib as a linebacker, and I think, like you guys said, focus on getting Myles Garrett, focus on getting Rob Ninkovich, focus on getting more defensive players. Who knows, maybe you can get Stephon Gilmore because you just need it. Titans, for example, you pretty much just need to give Mariota the number 1 receiver and then work on the rest of that the defense, and then you could have yourselves a 10-6, 11-5 team every year. 49ers, you're going to have to work with a lot of stuff. You may have to just replace every position except for Carlos Hyde. But other than that, work at the pass rush, get the quarterback, get the receivers, and then that's what I think. But what about you guys? Who do you guys think do you want to see on the up next year?
One team I can really see on the up next year is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To finish out the year, they had some trouble with Doug Martin. Suspend him for some drug issues. That's on Doug. Dougie Fresh has to fix that up. But I feel like they can definitely do some things. Mike Evans, Pro Bowl receiver, really good. Jameis Winston can really sling the ball. Had a lot of good games, and I feel like if they get a little help on the receivers, they can get some pieces on that defense. Noah Spence, their second round pick last year is really good. They got Gerald McCoy locked up for a while, so I think they can do a lot of damage. They only finished 2 games behind Atlanta. So they finished 9-7, so 2 games outside Atlanta for winning NFC South. You have Jameis Winston, who had 4,000 yards. Yes, he threw a lot of interceptions, but he had 4,000 yards. Mike
it's a
Evans,
given with a young quarterback still getting in there.
Yeah, I mean he's still growing, he's still learning,
He's
but
a slinger.
He's a slinger, he's a gunslinger. You throw it down the field, out throw you and stuff. So I really like Jameis Winston. I feel like he has a lot of potential. Mike Evans, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, had a really good year. He can definitely build off that. Can only go up. They can draft a receiver, maybe get a tight end, get a couple defensive pieces, and they're not too far off from. They can definitely make a wild card run. 9-7. They finished 1 game out of the wild card last year. So I mean they're there.
Draft Mike Williams and sign Stephen Gilmore.
Hey, who knows?
Actually,
sign AJ Boya, sign anybody, sign Jason Pierre-Paul for a little bit of money, get that extra edge rusher. Sign Terrell Pryor if he leaves Cleveland. There's a lot of things they can do. Dante Hightower's a free agent. They can get a linebacker. They have.
They're just so close, yeah.
Yeah, they're close. They're there. They just need a couple pieces. Definitely get creative. They still got a little money because they got some rookie contracts under their roster, but they just got to figure out running back. I mean, Doug Martin was hurt for majority of the year. Then he got suspended for 4 games because of drugs. So he's got to figure that out. They might want to go away from him, but they're not far off. They're there. They can definitely be good next year. I don't think they're going to be insanely good next year, but I think they can win 10 games, maybe sneak in a wild card, depending how the other all the other NFC teams play out. But Tampa Bay is a team that can really challenge Atlanta for the NFC South, not only next year, but years after that, because they're a young team just building.
And if I were to pick a team, I think I would pick the Tennessee Titans just because of their division looking weak right now, and I really like Mariota as the franchise quarterback. And with with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry at the backfield, it's great. You just got to add a good receiver and then fix up that defense.
They have the number 5 pick. Yeah,
they're the closest team I feel like to actually finding themselves going to the playoffs.
Yeah, they have the Rams pick, so they can definitely get Mike Williams too, steal him from Tampa Bay.
Exactly.
I've seen a lot of that in a mock draft. And if I can see some Marcus Mariota, Mike Williams, that can be some nice action right there.
Taylor, how do you feel?
You guys are gonna call me nuts right now, you're gonna call me nuts. I'm just warning you guys. The Jacksonville Jaguars. That is a very young and talented team down in Jacksonville, and I think it's honestly, I think it's not the players, more so it's just the system.
Mm-hmm.
And with Gus Bradley gone, listen, I like Gus Bradley. I respect him as a guy. He just was not fit to be head coach. He wasn't ready for it. He wasn't ready for the opportunity. Blake Bortles is a very talented quarterback. This is a very decent backfield that can get stuff done. They're not the most explosive. They're not the most versatile, but they're quick. This is a quick team. You have Allen Robinson. Awesome. I think Allen Robinson's one of the best receivers in the NFL.
Oh, he's going to be nasty as soon as stuff can get figured out in Jacksonville.
You have Hearns. All right, you have him. You have Julius Thomas as a tight end. You have
T.J. Yeldon.
T.J. Yeldon in the back.
And I kind of like Chris Ivory regardless of
yeah.
He
a
just
tough
needs
guy.
to get figured out.
Yeah.
And then you have, I'm sorry, Jalen Ramsey, no one talked about him this year. He just had a hell of a year. He was
balled
sick.
out.
Totally.
He's going to be sick.
And I mean, they were 3-13, but heck, we were talking about the Browns maybe coming up. What were they? They were what, 1-15?
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, it's tough. You look at me and you go, the Jacksonville Jaguars, Taylor, you're nuts. But listen to me right now. Eventually, this team has got to come around. It's a young ball club.
They have too much talent not to.
They're playing in a very nice stadium. They don't have the greatest fan base, but we've seen in years past when their good fans come out. There is spirit in Jacksonville. They just got to find it. And I think it's all about developing, and it's all about who they sign in the offseason. There are a lot of great players.
They can definitely do some things in free agency.
Depends on what they're looking at money-wise. Cap space varies from team to team. But if they play their cards right, like the Cleveland Browns, both them and Cleveland by 2020 can be competing for division titles.
Oh, I think the big thing in Jacksonville is the coaches. Gus Bradley, a former Seahawks defensive coordinator, is more of a defensive coach. But you look at Blake Bortles, Allen Hurns, Julius Thomas, T.J. Yeldon, Chris Ivory. I can just go on and on. Now, I'm not going to do that, time constraints. But they need an offensive coach. And with Doug Marrone coming in, I feel like that can be a nice little piece. Yes, he struggled in Buffalo, but he coached for a game. He coached for a game or two in Jacksonville, and they played really good. They played strong under him. He's an offensive coach, so I just feel like a couple pieces on the offensive line. Get some healthiness on that defense because they still got Miles Jack too. They still got him. He's got to get healthy. They can come up. I feel like Jacksonville can be a good team. They just got to figure out coaches, get everything in place, and start from the bottom up and just take it by slowly. Because I feel like Gus Bradley just wasn't the right coach. So if they can get the right coach, they can be a very, very dangerous team, especially in a weak AFC South, which is always up for the grabs every year.
Yeah, and the one team we didn't actually mention right now in that whole looking up next year, Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
Right here in the city of Philadelphia, we can't even talk about it. Well, we're going to talk about them another time. In the meanwhile, that is it for us today. We have wrapped everything up. Thank you for joining us on The First Line. My name is Massimo Marchiano, and here with my good friends Mike Zangroni and Taylor Snyder. We wish you a good night. Also, be sure to follow us on @TFL Sports Talk on Twitter, where our social media is at. You can get weekly updates from us then, when our shows are going to be, and if anything changes. Thank you very much. Anything else to say, gentlemen?
Go Pats, baby. Pats Nation. Going for number 5.
Carson Wentz will be in the Super Bowl within the next 5 years.
Yes, he will. All right.
Yes, he will.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Super Bowl, Sunday.
Eat a lot of pizza.